Welcome back, everyone, to the Late Night Review. And tonight I'm going to talk about a movie again. I have a ton of nostalgia for a movie that I still enjoy. And recently I did watch it from beginning to end. And I'm talking about American Ninja 4 with Michael Dudikoff and David Bradley. Yes, Michael Dudikoff came back to make this movie, and that was really, really a pleasant surprise. I have a lot of nostalgia for this. I saw this movie a long time ago and watched it over and over again. It's part four, but it's a worthy addition to the franchise. Uh, I have to say the American Ninja franchise is one of the more consistent franchises, except for part five. It never should have been made. Part five, I respect it, and it had a good cast too. It had a good cast. Pat Morita was in it, and it had a good cast, but just it wasn't a good movie. David Bradley was in it. Michael Dudikoff didn't come back. That was good for Dudikoff, but yeah, it wasn't a good movie. I tried to get into it. I tried to watch it. It wasn't. I recently checked it out. It's worth missing. It definitely is. There's a couple good action scenes in there. Actually, David Bradley's athletic looks good. He's a really good American Ninja. I just I wish part five would have never been made for the sake of everybody. And the music in there wasn't that good either. It sounded more like a Travel Channel song. It sounded like the score should have been more in an advertisement for a travel channel instead, but I'll leave that alone. Death Wish 5 should have never been made. The first four were awesome. Die Hard 5 should have never been made. The first four were awesome. And American Ninja 5 should have never been made, but the first four were awesome. But the acting was so much better in the Death Wish movies and in the Die Hard movies than the American Ninja films. But I'll say this. The first one and the second one the acting for an action movie was pretty good, actually. Three and four, it seemed to get worse, but still fun movies. I like all four American Ninja movies. The fifth one doesn't really exist to me. I don't know if they made a part six. Maybe I'll check it out and see if they did. Part five kind of made me just kind of put a damper on it for me, but I might see if they made a part six. But yeah, part four is good. It's a good movie. The acting isn't that good. It's better than No Retreat, No Surrender, the acting. But I really love the American Ninja, the first four films. I enjoyed all of them. Steve James, I wish he would have been in this one, but he wasn't. He didn't come back. He was in part one, two, and three. Love Steve James. Unfortunately, he died young. I think it was pancreatic cancer. That was really sad. I didn't know that until I looked it up, which it explains why he wasn't in more films, and that made me feel really bad. Really liked him in American Ninja 1, 2, and 3. He was in Delta Force. He was in one of my favorite Chuck Norris movies, which is Delta Force, but also The Hero and the Terror with Chuck Norris, Jack O'Halloran. Steve James was in that. Michael Dudikoff comes back and he's in part four. Part three, I like a lot. I think I might like part four a little bit better than part three because Dudikoff comes back, the original American Ninja. My only complaint really about the American Ninja films, besides the acting, the first two the acting was pretty decent though. It was, but the ninjas are defeated too early. They're defeated too easily. They're not very good. They're ninjas. They should be a lot better. You shouldn't be able to throw a stick at them and they collapse and they're knocked out, especially when it didn't hit them that hard. So that's one of my only complaints, that the ninjas are defeated too easily. But in part two, there was a couple ninjas there. There's a couple scenes, especially where this ninja was trying to get in their truck when Joe Armstrong, Michael Dudikoff, was driving, and he didn't give up. He was a tough ninja. There are some ninjas that are really, really tough in the films, especially in part two, I think. But a couple of the scenes where they just fall down after they get hit with something small, or just one throwing star and then they're done. I don't think that helps the films very much. They should have been tougher. But besides that, they're fun movies. I have a lot of nostalgia for these films. James Booth plays the main villain in American Ninja 4. And he was in Zulu. It's a movie I grew up watching, Zulu, with Stanley Baker and Michael Caine. He plays Hook, or Hooky, in Zulu, James Booth. And he's kind of an insubordinate, kind of unruly guy in there that's in trouble, but he ends up being a hero. That movie was inspired by a true story. And he ends up being a war hero in there, even though he's insubordinate, doesn't listen. He actually was a good fighter in there, and he fought valiantly. The Zulu was a classic movie. But he's in here. He plays the main bad guy, and he's a good actor. The acting in these movies aren't that good, but I think he does a good acting job. However, he does so many things in here that are so bad, and a couple things that I wish he wouldn't have done just for his career. The couple, some of the sexual content in here that he did, I don't think he should have done, just because it might have hurt his career a little bit, but I'm not sure. It was very uncomfortable, but he makes you hate him. He does a good acting job because he makes you really hate his character and makes you want to see the American Ninjas decimate him. So he does a good job in that sense. He's a very good actor. He was always a good actor. I enjoyed him in Zulu. He's a funny guy in Zulu, insubordinate, but later he becomes a hero when they're attacked. But that in that movie, Zulu, I think, was directed by Stanley Baker as well, if I remember right. But anyway, back to American Ninja 4. It's a good movie. David Bradley comes back, and he does a good job as the American Ninja, Michael Dudikoff. I was so happy that he came back, the original American Ninja, to be in this movie, and it's a good movie. One thing I wish they would have done, though, is have more screen time together, where they would have been in the film together longer as a team, almost like a Double Dragon movie. Michael Dudikoff and David Bradley teaming up and fighting more. That would have made the movie even better. So, but if you can excuse some of the bad acting in here, and maybe a couple other things that you notice, it's a fun movie. It's an interesting movie. The plot it's okay. It's a little bit more of a rehashing of the first three films. It's pretty much a rehashing of the first three films, but it's fun. If you like those other films and you want to see something similar to that again, I think you'll like this movie, especially if you like those films. Michael Dudikoff does great in here. David Bradley does a really, really good job in here. And it's fun. There's some funny, there's a little bit more comedy in here that I think is a little funnier than the other films, even though each film has a little comedy in them. I think especially this one, when one of the bad guys claps when he sees the ninjas going through an obstacle course, the bad ninjas going through their training, and one of them, they're doing a good job, and he claps, and then they do a good job, and he claps, and then one of them dies, and then he claps again, and then James Booth looks at him, and it's kind of a funny scene. There's a few funny things in here. Some of the acting is not good, but there's some funny scenes in here. There's also some very kind of disturbing scenes too in here sexually, and wish James Booth didn't go there, but it's a good movie, a fun movie, interesting movie, and it's one of my favorite action movies. It really is. How does it compare to the other three? I might even like it better than part three a little bit. I do like this film, and I might even rewatch it more than the first one, even though the first one's a better film. Maybe I'll do a ranking one day in the future. No promises, but maybe I'll do a ranking of these films in the future, the American Ninja films. But it's a fun movie. Uh, David Bradley is sent in first to go after the bad guys, and later he does a good job. He has to go out and get some information, and then he gets captured, and then later they call in Michael Dudikoff's character, Joe Armstrong, to go rescue him, and then they do meet up later, and Armstrong does a rescue mission, because David Bradley does good, but there's so many ninja. It's an army of ninja. He's doing a good job. He's fighting them off, but there's too many, and he's captured. Then they send in Dudikoff later to go in and rescue, find out what happened, and then rescue him. And they do meet up later. I just wish they had more screen time where they would have kind of buddied up and did kind of a Double Dragon. I grew up watching, if for those who don't know what Double Dragon is, it was a video game that came out, and I played it over and over and over again. And then they had Double Dragon 2, The Revenge, and then 3, The Sacred Stones. A lot of nostalgia for those movies. And as a side note, I remember I don't even know if I should mention this or not, but when I was a kid, I was playing Double Dragon 3, The Sacred Stones, and then in the parking lot outside, there was this guy. He was abusing his girlfriend, and my cousin went out. I didn't know what was going on. I was a teenager, and my cousin went out there to confront the guy. My dad went out there, and then I went out there, and then this guy, he tried to get away in his car, and my dad, he went out there, and this was years ago. This was years and years ago. I was just a kid, but my dad stopped him from getting away, kind of broke his car door, and then they started fighting, and my dad worked him over. He's out in the parking lot. I was in the middle of playing Double Dragon 3, The Sacred Stones. And a buddy of mine, his mother and sister were in the parking lot getting in their car, and they saw it too. And then they told my buddy, and then he called me and said, I heard. And anyway, that was out in the parking lot. But there was a few fights out in that parking lot that I saw and that we were involved in. But that's a whole other thing. But yeah, my daddy was a tough guy. And, he took care of that guy, and that guy definitely learned his lesson. But anyway, that aside, I was playing Double Dragon 3, The Sacred Stones, when that fight broke out. I heard it. I was in the bedroom playing, and then I heard the commotion, went out there and saw what was happening. And then, there's a lot of people who saw that. But anyway, back to the movie, American Ninja 4. It's a good movie. It's a worthy addition to the franchise. And it was a movie that excited me and made me pumped up, wanted to see it again and again. Some of the parts in there are kind of off-putting, especially with James Booth's character, but he does a good job. He's convincing. He makes you hate him. You want his character destroyed. And it's a good ending. The ending is satisfying, and I like it. I just wish Dudikoff and Bradley would have been together more in the movie, fighting the guys at the same time. There's some of that at the end, though. So all in all, this is a good movie. If you like these types of movies, I think you'll enjoy this one. And this has been the Late Night Review. I highly recommend American Ninja 4. Please like and subscribe and share this video. And have a good night, everybody.